In this video, I interview Shirley Battie, who since the year 1990 has been communicating with spirit guides, ascended masters, and many different extraterrestrials whom she affectionately calls space beings or extracelestials. She has written and published 4 books and has travelled to several different countries around the world delivering the teachings she has received from these extra-dimensional beings. This really is a fascinating 90-minute video in which Shirley shares so much information, and it is my absolute honour to present to you this interview with Shirley Battie. So Shirley, we first met 19 years ago, I think in 1993.
Yes, early part of 93.
Early part of 93, and I hadn't started channeling myself, and I think it was around about 2 or 3 weeks after meeting you that I began to channel. We were at a healing workshop, and I'd never received and I'd never received any healing before in my life. I'd never done any healing, and you and I were paired together to do the healing.
It was a very special healing workshop.
And I had a very personal experience during that healing that you provided in the workshop, which I told you about. And you were already channeling, I believe, at the time.
Yes, I was, yes.
Well, when I bumped into you last month, after 19 years, after all the healing you must have done, in all that time, you remembered my personal experience.
Yeah. Well, it was quite dramatic, wasn't it? You couldn't forget that one.
Yeah, no. It was a huge shift for me. And having seen you again, I now wonder if connecting with you and you doing that healing on me and that keyed me in to be able to channel, because perhaps that was a block for my channeling up until that point.
What I find, it doesn't happen all the time, when I'm doing talks, I always prepare the room before I give a talk. People don't know what I'm doing, but I do it anyway. And they often say that a change has occurred because they were at the talk. Something happened, and they knew something happened, but they don't quite know what. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Especially if I talk in a different language. It happens. Yeah. I don't do that with everybody.
Well, that's wonderful, and I'm incredibly grateful for the meeting with you. And now I realise after this time how significant it was. And when I bumped into you a month ago, I had a feeling, and you had a feeling that we had to meet, but we didn't quite know why.
No, and we always know who you've got to be with.
Exactly, and then we said goodbye, and then I bumped into you again in the ladies, and I thought, right, there's a reason. And then I instantly thought, you know, I think I'm supposed to interview you.
Yeah, well,
and I've been getting so many signs that this is right, so I am so pleased to have this interview with you today.
I'm grateful.
So the first thing I'd like to ask is, so we met in 93. So prior to that, when did you key into channeling? I mean, was this something that occurred right back to childhood?
No. I had no clues about any of this sort of work. Right, when you look back, you can see, yes, you did have clues, but the first time that I actually connected by channeling, I didn't know it was channeling. I went to a counselling class. I was doing counselling. And they meditated, and I always thought people were a bit peculiar who meditated, you know. Beads and bangles and amen and flower power and all that stuff. But they were normal, everyday people, so I thought, right, okay, I'll give it a go. At home. And I had instant communication, straight away. But it wasn't normal meditation because it was all about the planet. So right from the very word go, they've been showing me what's going to happen on the planet, my role and what I'm to do since then. I mean, I was grabbed, I tell you, I was hooked, because it was so strong, you know. And then I told them that I kept forgetting what they told me, because you go into trance, you can't remember when you come out. So they said, record it. That meant you had to vocalise, speak. So they showed me how to do that, they taught me how to do that. So I was channeling, and I still do, my meditations. My 4th book is the result of all those channeled meditations.
Excellent.
The whole thing. Now, if I hadn't channeled it, if I hadn't recorded it, it would have gone into the mist of time. I would have forgotten all about it. So they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I channeled right from the word go, you might say, apart from the first few months while they taught me. But I never went to a channeling class. I'd never been to a channeling. I didn't know it was channeling. It was somebody else who said, that's what you're doing.
So your guides trained you?
They
everything.
trained me.
Yeah.
They trained me every step of the way.
Yeah, which is the same with me.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It's
And they
fantastic.
put everything in place. Reading back through my book, Being Human, I realised how much they have actually set things up and put things in place. We don't really need to worry. If they've got an agenda with you, they're going to somehow get it sorted. Even if we ignore them for a while, it's going to come back. You know.
So did they tell you who they were?
No, and I never even asked. At the beginning I didn't ask. It didn't seem to matter. I was so caught up in the moments and their feelings. I didn't know who they'd be if they even said. Occasionally one would say, I am of the order of Melchizedek, for example, or at the Elohim. I thought, who are they? I was absolutely green. I had no idea. I had no ground knowledge at all.
So you're with a collective then, and every energy, whether it's an ascended master, a geometric structure, an ET, they can all come through
Absolutely.
This collective.
The White Brotherhood came through an awful lot to start with. And I only knew they were the White Brotherhood about the same time that you and I did the healing stuff. Because they give me very pictorial pictures, and I see in my mind's eye. And they did one a bit like seeing a fax appear, or a photograph being printed, piece by piece. They said, remember, record this, remember my face. You see, so when the whole picture had come out of the machine, so to speak, I remembered who it was. I didn't know who it was, but I remembered the face. So I told the guy who set up the healing workshop that we did, and I told him what had happened, and he got a book out, and he said, go through the book and tell me which one it is, and it was one of the White Brotherhood. So you see, they have their ways of telling you. So since then, of course, I have people with names, but I don't like to name drop, really.
No, I know.
I think it's the message that's important.
Absolutely, it doesn't matter who that collective is, really, and that's what mine have told me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who we are.
So if people who are present at me channeling ask, oh, who's speaking, who are you, please? Often they will hedge a bit, or they will say, we are of the order of, or we are the keepers of the records. So they give themselves a collective.
Yes,
you see. So we don't fixate on them too
exactly.
much.
I agree. Mine present as 9, and they never did give me a name. I called them the white-winged collective consciousness of 9 because that seemed to describe what they were. But they also have told me they are an aspect of the White Brotherhood as well.
Absolutely.
So
now, one of my guides, Dr. Poe, because I had guides at the beginning, more guides than the Ascended Masters lot. I won't say I gave him the name, but Dr. Poe, he looked so miserable and Poe-faced, I had to give him a name, and so I called him Dr. Poe because of his face. That isn't his name, but he doesn't mind.
No, exactly.
I mean, he's on the wall over there, and you can see what I mean about his Poe face.
Oh, right, yes.
You see. But people see him, even now, they see him when I'm channeling. He's always present. Not necessarily to do a channeling, but to be there.
And did any beings come in that said they were extraterrestrial and from other planetary systems?
Well, Ozzy Shoe up there, the Birdman, I called when he first came. He came into me.
Yeah.
I actually felt him in me, and my face had contorted. And I've got it all on tape. Fortunately, it's all on tape. It's all been recorded. His first attempts at speaking through me. It's quite interesting, really. It's all about the planet. The whole thing's been about the planet. He gradually got easier with it, as I got easier with it. But I called him Birdman for ages because I didn't know his name. So in the end I said, look, I must have a name, really. And he gave me the sound of his name. And the sound is like a wind. I couldn't put a word to it, so the closest I could get was the one I've given him, Osishu. It's probably not his real name, but it doesn't matter.
No.
You see?
So this was all around the early 90s then, that all these experiences
The majority of stuff happened in the 90s, yeah.
And when did you write your first book?
Oh, I started in 1993. But, you know, I've got thousands of pages. And I actually sent it to a publisher in about 95. And, I mean, there's thousands of pages. They all said, no, it's too much. It was just channeling. I knew it wasn't going to go that way. So then I had to devise a way of putting the information in a more acceptable, readable form that people would enjoy reading. It didn't feel like a whole load of just channeling. I mean, you know, to actually read through people's channelings, or sometimes it takes too long. And, you know, you get brain dead after a while.
So how did you change that then into a more readable form?
Well, I did writing classes. In fact, I think Spirit had got that sorted because they organised, and I say they because it was Spirit organising it, writing classes way back in the 1980. So, I mean, that's a long time ago.
I did writing classes too.
Yes, because the reason I did it was because every night when I went to bed, and remember I was working, I was in Italy working, and I was working flat out. So when I went to bed, all I wanted to do was go to sleep. No. It was like ticker tape, word for word, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, full stops, the whole works, titles, night after night. And I got really cheesed off with this because I needed to sleep. And I wasn't thinking Spirit, remember, I had no idea. None whatsoever about Spirit at that time. So then I ended up having a major operation which gave me 3 months off work. And
so that's when you wrote.
I thought, if I do a writing course, correspondence course, because I was in Italy, maybe the writing will stop. And it did. Because they got me to do what they wanted me to do, you see, all along, but I just didn't know. I had no connection with people who were doing this sort of thing.
When did you find out then that it was sort of channeling or spirit?
When I was doing the counselling class, there was a guy there who was a medium who said, and that's what you're doing, you know, can I come along and watch? So he did. He's since recently died, but he was a great help at that time. Because he was explaining things I had no clues about, really. I didn't know what a chakra was. You know, people say, you've got to open this chakra and that chakra. I was channeling without even knowing what a chakra was, so I mean, is it that important? It isn't really. I personally don't think.
Well, I agree.
People are
I
going to hate
think
me
if
on
you've
that.
got, no, I agree with you completely.
Why complicate
If you've
it?
got that link, you will be taught everything.
Absolutely.
And the chakras, they open naturally.
They
and
open
balance.
anyway, yes.
I agree. I've recently heard somebody say, if you're going to ascend, you need to know where you're going and you need to know the coordinates to get there.
No.
So I asked the 9 and they said, on the one hand that's correct, but it doesn't have to be consciously, because when you are in that link, you will be led, you will be shown, it will happen
It's
naturally.
going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Everything I've done has been, I've not gone to the classes.
No, I haven't either.
You see.
And are there people out there that are ascending who have no idea what's happening to them?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Beautiful spiritual people who haven't got a clue
Yes,
about any of this.
absolutely.
It doesn't matter. You see, it's not whether you're psychic. There's some wonderfully psychic, really capable people who are not terribly spiritual.
Yes,
It's more important to be spiritual.
Yes.
And you can be spiritual without knowing a thing about psychic work
Yes.
or
I agree.
contacting the dearly
It's all about
departed.
compassion and love.
It's all about how you are as an individual. And most of the channeling that's coming through recently, and I did one fairly recently, is about being kind to each other. Not about, oh, you've got to go and learn how to balance your chakras or whatever.
No.
It was all about being kind to each other, being as loving as
Because
you
that
can
will
be.
balance your chakras.
That's all you need to do
Yeah.
to ascend, is to be a good person.
Yes.
You
Be
know?
in service.
Be in service.
So when did your first book, when did you get that published?
That was in, oh golly, I'm trying to remember now, some time ago, 2003 I think it was.
And you've had 4 books published?
And I've got 3 books actually out published. The
And
4th one is being
being
published,
published
now.
now.
Should be a couple of months it should be out.
So what are the titles of the 4 books?
The first one was called Channeling. That was not what I wanted, it was what the publisher wanted. And it was a big publisher, and it was my first book, so I wasn't going to say no, was I? I was going to accept anything they said. I'm still getting royalty checks from them now, but they have total control over that. And people are still saying to me, it's their Bible, and where can I get a copy? You can't get a copy anymore. they've stopped production, you see.
So is this book about channeling?
It's a how-to book.
Yeah, okay.
It's literally a how to do it.
And it can still be bought on Amazon?
Because my main purpose in life, I think, one of my main purposes,
yeah,
I mean, there's so many
I
of them,
know.
is to teach people
Yes.
how to do these things in the simplest way they can.
Yes.
I like fast track.
Yes.
I don't like complicated. You've got to sit in a circle for 10 years before you're allowed to go on. No, none of that.
I agree.
People can get messages and they can be open up and develop in one day's workshop.
Yes. Yes.
Really, they don't need all this complication. It puts people off. People say, "Oh, I can't meditate." Everybody can meditate if they know how to do it. And so I teach this, what I call a mind awake meditation, where your mind is really, really active. Now, the first book, Channeling, I wanted to do a book on meditation, but the publisher said, no, we don't need that, we want one on channeling. So I put in the meditation training at the beginning, called it Channeling, and then it led on to the channeling. And people, I'm getting good reports back.
And the second book?
The second and third book, those on the table there, Being Human and Spirit Speaks. Being Human is my story. I got so sick of people saying, how did you start? Asking questions like you're asking.
Yes.
You know, how did you know? What happened? What did you do? How did you go? And I put it all in there.
Wonderful.
But it takes it a bit further because it's including what Spirit have told me, but mostly the big, what I call the big guns, the White Brotherhood, and the, what would I call them? You see, I don't like to give them big names. The Ascended Masters for certain, all there. And I've gone on spaceships, you see. I've gone on board spaceships with them, with extraterrestrials. Oh, I call them extracelestials, actually.
Yes. Okay.
Because
lovely.
I think that's lovely, extracelestials.
Yeah.
Because they all work together.
Yes.
So a lot of the interaction between them and me when I'm in my other state is in the book. And it includes my travels abroad, who I trusted to go off to a country that I haven't got a clue about and don't know anybody, got nothing set up, because Spirit have said so. And they've always got it sorted. I mean, I've been so many places, it's all in there. But there's one chapter people say, oh, aren't you lucky to go all to these countries? Can you put me in your suitcase? I think they don't really know the half of it. So there's a chapter in there called In My Suitcase.
Oh, right.
About the awful things, like sleeping on a mattress that's where mice or rats are nesting in. And it's jiggling around underneath you. That was in Brazil. And
it's not all glamorous.
it's not. And stepping out of your bed where you've been put up, stepping straight into dog's mess that's been there for ages. Things like that, roughing it, sleeping on bedrolls on the floor, in a sort of hut sort of thing. No, it's not hotels.
It doesn't all just fall into your lap.
Absolutely not. And even now, I'm 77 now, and I want a bit more comfort now, please.
77.
Yes.
You do not look 77 at all. Do you believe there's some cellular regeneration going on, and that people who are connected this way
I would
are
love
starting to look younger?
I would
than their
love to
age?
believe that. I would really love to. My mind, anybody who's getting old would tell you their mind is still young, all right, but it's the body that starts to fade. Well, as I've told you, I've just had 2 teeth out, so the body isn't indestructible. I would like to go back to the age of 33 because I was on peak physical form then, really. I mean, I used to play squash, I used to row, the boat race, that's why I'm interested in the boat race. That's coming up on Saturday. I've done that boat race course, I've done the boat race.
Wow.
Female, of course. So, I was superbly fit.
I think you look amazing
Yeah.
at 77. And what I get from you is, would you agree that perhaps you've packed what would have been one lifetime, you've probably packed maybe 3 or 4 lifetimes into one?
Yes, possibly, yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of changes. I mean, I could talk about so many things.
I could sit here and have you
I
on
could
camera
talk
all
forever.
day. I wanted to.
There's so much. How Spirit have set things up for me. But you see, this is true for anybody. You have to notice the little signs that they put up. You can ignore it,
Yes.
and then they can't get through. But the signs are always there if people take it up. I mean, I've written about going to Calgary. All it was a meditation where they showed me the map and put the finger on it and said they wanted me to go there.
And you've been?
Oh, I've been several times.
I've got a friend in Calgary.
Oh,
well,
really
it
lovely.
started off a client,
I've lost
but a
Calgary.
friend now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, you go to places and you haven't got a clue why, but you know, because Spirit have said, I've trusted and I've gone, and it's been fine. They set it up. India was the same.
Wow.
Brazil was exactly the same. So, you know.
So would you just be told that you'd be going to these places?
I much prefer to be asked by Spirit and suggested. There's only one place I've turned them down and I've said find somebody else.
Oh, really?
Because I do believe I have choice.
Yes, you
Yeah.
absolutely.
4 times they made it so clear, they've stopped now, I think. They've given up on me on that one. We want you to go to the northern reaches of Canada. And I thought, no, forget it. It's too cold in the winter, and in the summer they've got mosquitoes the size of helicopters. No, thank you. I don't fancy that. So I've said no.
But all the other places, they are.
I've been, everyone.
And they would provide the means for you to be able to get there.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's comfortable.
Yes, right.
But, I went to Borneo, and they always got work. It's not paid work, that's the thing. You've got to find your own money to get there.
Yes.
And there was one particular place where the Japanese had a camp for the prisoners of war were fighting in the war, in the Second World War. And the energies, and I was just wandering around. As part of the tour, I took a tour, and 2 angels appeared. When they turn up, I know I've got work to do, you see. Because in a sense, they take me into dark places quite often.
Yes.
And so I had to cleanse the negative energies, the terrible energies that were left in this place. I had to cleanse it. Also cleanse it for the Japanese, because their energies were still there. And so I did a cleaning up job, if you like.
So basically what you're doing ultimately when it comes to the mission, I know there are several jobs, but ultimately, is this about raising the vibration of the planet Earth
The
in
whole
whatever way you
thing,
can?
the whole thing is making sure humanity carries on
So it's not.
in the spiritual base, because the Earth will always
Yeah, it's
continue.
not the planet. It's
The Earth will always
it's human,
survive.
Yes.
The Earth will survive whatever we throw it.
Yes.
But we don't want to get thrown off.
No.
Because we are an endangered species as well. We endanger ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
So my role is there's several things I have to do, loads and loads of different things. One of, because they keep telling me what my role is, and so always something, what again, it gets overwhelming sometimes.
Yes, it does.
I have been overwhelmed.
Yes, I have too.
With the stuff that they've asked me.
Have you ever actually said, look, I don't want to do this anymore?
No, what I've done is I've said, look, you're throwing too many things at me at once. Tell me what you want me to focus on first, and I'll do one thing at a time. And they did, they sent me a fax.
Oh.
They sent me a fax, because I've got a fax machine. This was before the internet had fax. And this fax came through with an UFO on it.
And you don't know where it came from?
Yes, because it came through the machine. It's got the name and address of who sent it, you see, which was a Body and Soul shop in Ringwood.
Oh.
So I phoned them up and I said, why did you send me a picture of a UFO? They said, we didn't. I said, well, I've just got it here. They said, we didn't send you anything. This is really weird. So I said, look, send me another one just in case, it's a blip of a machine. Completely blank paper. They were answering what I had asked them.
That's
they wanted me to
fantastic.
focus on the ET UFO side, because that was part of it, you see.
Yes, of course.
Um,
So you've had actual physical third density situations that have been created by the ETs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was definitely, yes, no question about it.
And your neighbour, you were telling me earlier.
Yes, she could see colours over my house coming from somewhere up there.
And she's not particularly...
No, she's not particularly interested in any of this.
But she sees
She knows
lights.
what I do. I mean, she sends people to me for healing and stuff. But, you know, she don't want to get involved.
But she sees lights and colours above your house.
Above my house when I'm doing either a workshop or channeling or the group. She said, I even go out in the street to see where the lights are coming from. And she said, no, you know, they're just coming down over your house.
That's fantastic.
Which is lovely.
Yes, it is lovely.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it really is lovely.
So this one, Spirit Speaks.
Spirit Speaks is very useful, I think. Because, and the Spirit asked me to do this. It's all the questions that people have asked me while I've been channeling or giving a talk. People are always asking questions. That's lovely. But you know, you can't keep on telling everybody the same thing over and over because it's too much time.
Yes.
So I thought I'll put it all into a book. Then it's all there.
Yeah.
Any question they want to ask that Spirit have answered previously, like what does the spirit world think about abortions? It's a question people want to know if they've had an abortion.
Yeah.
It's important to them.
It is.
How do they view suicides? That's important to a lot of people. What is the difference between a psychic and a clairvoyant or a medium? What are the differences? So I've gone into that.
And how do I find out what my mission is?
Well,
where do I come from?
It's all in
why
there.
Am I here?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
All
So
that's in there. And it goes from the very basic questions that you and I know answers to. But people out there don't, you know, they really don't. They haven't got a clue. So it goes from the very basic questions, getting more complicated as you go through the book, going right the way through, and all the predictions are in there because I've got loads of predictions. I've just put them straight down as they were given, the predictions about what's going to happen.
Yes.
People always say, what's going to happen in 2012?
Yes.
You know, it's all in there.
So that's all in Spirit Speaks.
All
which
in
is your
Spirit
third book.
Speaks. It is the third and fourth book.
And where can people purchase that?
Through me, if you can.
Through
You
your
can get
website.
it off Amazon, but then you're going to pay more. You have to wait for it.
So they can order it direct from you or from
Direct
the website?
from me or from through my website, and it's through PayPal.
So what about the fourth book?
Well, the fourth book is the one, as I said before, my journey, how I got started, asking people ask questions, how did you get started, how did you know? I've included the predictions in there. I've included my very personal, I'd say personal because it is connections with my ET guide, Mossy Shoe, and with several of my guides, not all of them because you know the book's too small to have them all in. But you get to really know the most important guides during that period of time. You get to know them. They've got personalities, you know, very strong. So I'm sure they're happy with it.
Oh,
So it's
sure
my
they are.
journeys, and it's the journeys, as I say, travelling abroad, and you know, why do I do it? A number of times I say, why do I do this? Because I get nervous every time I do a channeling.
I know exactly what you mean.
I get
I'm the
really nervous. I can't do anything the rest of the
same.
day.
Yes, I'm the same.
I get an all tune out. Am I going to get anything? Is it going to be any good? You know.
It's just a knowing. This is what you came here for,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And this is.
But you see, if I got complacent about it,
yeah,
it wouldn't do somehow. You know,
No,
I can't
I
take
know.
it for granted.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
So I never take it for granted.
No.
And you have to watch your step sometimes, because you know people keep telling you how wonderful you are. You might start to believe it, and I don't.
You've got to stay with humility. I know.
Yeah, you
I
do
know.
need to.
They can't work if you're an ego, can they? Because the alignment's not.
They
it.
need your ego to do the things. 'Cause
Yes.
people with no ego won't do anything.
Yes.
They'll just sit back and be like sheep. So you have to have a certain amount, but it
Mm.
mustn't be the controlling
Yes.
factor.
Yes.
You know,
That's really good
Yeah.
way of explaining it.
it mustn't be the one that controls you.
So this book, the fourth one, when's that due out, would you say?
Well, they're working on it now. I'm going to the London Book Fair in April. I was hoping it was going to be out there, but it takes time. So I haven't even had it back for proofreading yet.
So potentially
So I'm
this summer?
thinking, oh yes,
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Before
May
the
or June.
May or June.
Yeah,
Lovely.
I reckon it'll be out May or June.
And there's predictions in there for 2012 and beyond?
Can't remember, what have I put in here? Oh, God. Yeah, yes, they are in there. Yeah. But it's a different sort of book to Being Human. My personal favourite is Being Human. The one that's most beneficial to people who want answers is Spirit Speaks.
Okay.
The next one, there's very much a teaching in there, how to do what I do.
Yes.
I'm stressing that all the way
So
through.
anyone who wants to learn to channel,
how to have the journeys that I'm having.
yeah.
Because the fourth book is more mind walking. I enter other dimensions, I enter other worlds. And I feel as if I'm physically entering, you know, it's not just inner here. When I go into these states, I am there. I am walking on the cobbles, or I'm, you know, shuffling through the sand.
And this is the state you're in when you've been on the ET ships?
Yeah, I feel physical.
So is this through meditation? Is this through astral projection through the dream time?
No, well, the Aboriginals call it dream time.
Yeah.
The shamans call it mind walking.
The nine say dream time, that's why.
Yeah, same thing, same idea. Yeah. That's what you do. Now I teach that. In fact, I've got a full class on the 27th, I think it is, of April. Absolutely chock-a-block full of people wanting to learn how to do this.
I'm not surprised.
Because you can learn it.
So are you're actually shifting into a state where you really feel almost as if you're physically in that place.
Oh yes, yeah. You forget that you're sat in a chair and you forget that completely.
So it's like meditation, but it's actually a tuning into the multidimensional self.
Yes, you've got to start with a meditation. You've got to know how to relax, and you've got to know how to meditate. That's what I teach.
Is this also what's called activating the Merkaba? Is this the
Merkaba is slightly different. I can activate the Merkaba without doing it the long-winded way.
So just with your eyes open, sitting there.
I can do it with the mind. It's easier with your eyes shut because you're not distracted. That's the only reason I keep the eyes shut.
Yeah.
The only reason.
Yes.
Could do it with my eyes open.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's a mental thing that you do. But I don't consciously do that anymore. I don't need to anymore. I know it sounds weird, but I can get in very quickly now. You know, I can sit down. I almost have to say, look, wait, because I always say a prayer. You know, hang on a bit, I haven't done the prayer.
Go straight in.
You know, it's almost straight in, so I can do it very easily. Talk I'm doing tonight, and it was another guy who gave me the idea. The talk I went to recently at Positive Living, and he gave everybody a message. He wrote a little message in each book that they bought. And I thought, that's a good idea. I can do that. Dead easy. So that's what I'm going to do tonight.
No, I'm coming to your talk
yeah.
tonight.
Means you have to buy a book, you see.
Yes, and I will. I
Yeah.
will. I'm not sure which one, but
no,
I'm going to buy one. Yeah.
You find Being Human enjoyable, read. People have said, when's the next instalment?
Well, is there any teaching about the dimensional shifting in any of those, or is that the one that's coming out in the summer?
More the one that's coming out soon, yes.
Because obviously I feel it's like a constant progression through the dimensional states, and when you get to one place, how I feel is you kind of land there and think, wow, this is great, and you settle, and then off you go again to the next
level. Do you know there's
level.
144 dimensions?
Right.
And several stages in each one, so we have a long way to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because with the model I'm shown with the 9, when it gets to the 14th, it loses the dimensional state and its pure energy. But I know what you mean about the 144 aspects. But I mean, that's so vast.
Why worry about that now?
Yeah.
It's like, if you started to do that, it'd be like an infant going to infant school and
worrying
about university.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what are we talking about?
So these dimensional states right now, obviously, the more we embrace them in our thinking and in our feeling, we're anchoring them, aren't we, into the physical planet.
The more you put your thoughts on, your energy on, the more you fill your mind with. This is why reading is so important, I think. Because if you can fill your mind with the stuff that you're interested in, your mind will grow in that direction. It's like the body, unfortunately, grows according to what we feed it. The mind grows according to what we feed it. And I notice if I'm talking about things like, as we are, or if I have people around we're talking, it brings them in. I say them, the guides, the helpers, the teachers. It brings that energy, that essence in to join with you. Because they're interested. They think, oh, whoopee, look, you know, little lights going up there. Yes. Let's go and have a look-see. Yeah. Happens every time. Every time.
So it not just draws in the humans that are listening via video.
Oh no, I'm going beyond them.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally, I agree with you. So,
Depending on what level you're talking about.
yes, yes.
You see.
And do you switch across the levels, or do you try and move?
I can switch across the levels, but this has been taught to me really. When I hold a channeling evening, spirit will never speak above the level of anybody's understanding. They won't go above their heads because it's wasting their time.
Because this is in your circle.
Well, not in the circle. If I hold a channeling evening,
but they will in your books. Will they?
Oh, in the books, yeah. I mean, they will pick up on whatever is.
Because with me, it's videos, and what they do is go through several levels, and when they get to the higher level, it's metaphor, so that when it goes above certain people's level, it's still caught as a metaphoric.
Oh yes, yes.
Is that how it is?
Ready for later.
But if you're in a circle or in a development
but if I'm running a group, I try to have people of the same level of awareness.
Right, right.
And so it won't go. They won't think, oh my God, I can't get to grips with this.
Right.
Because it then puts a block up.
Right.
So you stay at that level. So if I do a channeling for an evolved, more aware group, then they'll get so much more because they will be spoken to at that higher level.
So what dimensional level is the more higher awareness that you're bringing through at the moment?
Oh dear, we have to start name dropping, I suppose, in a way.
Well,
which I try not to.
Yeah,
but,
you don't
let me give you one instance, which covers all things, I think. I get more when I channel than when I'm just running the group, because I'm monitoring everybody else when I'm running the group and not doing my thing so much. So when it's me doing my thing, we had somebody come through from the far future. I mean, I can go, I don't know about the rest, but I can go into the very, very far future, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of years ahead. We had a being come back from the far future, and he came into me. Now, what is beautiful, everybody knew, they could feel it, they felt its essence, and he had such a big head. I had to literally put my hand up, hold my head in place. It was like a baby's head, flopping. And he said he'd come from the far future to tell us that we were going to be like him in the far future.
So this was on our timeline, our trajectory.
Yeah. But he'd moved back to give this information, you see. That he said to prove to us that we do have a future as a human race. And that the other reason he came was because when he came, he brought his essence. Because you get an entity coming into them, you feel them, you know them. Everybody felt this guy. I say guy, I mean, I don't know. And he said in his essence is all his knowledge, and his own essence is there. And this is penetrating all your essences. So he said you are actually absorbing some of what I know. It was wonderful.
Oh, yes.
And it felt wonderful. But that doesn't happen very often. I mean, we get, as I say, the name droppers, we can get Jesus and Mary and, and the...
so you can go anywhere you focus your attention. Once you're in that higher dimensional state, you can go anywhere you choose to. But if you're working, you will most probably go where you're shown to go.
I'm geared, I usually say, and I do advocate this, when you get into a nice meditative state, into the state where you are, say, take me where I need to be, show me what I need to see. You've given them permission then, you see. Otherwise, if you don't ask, you're just stuck there having a nice experience. It's just nice. I'm all about getting information.
Sometimes I get told, you don't need to go much further in that aspect. That's irrelevant to your personal path. It may be relevant to the global reality, but for your personal path, draw back.
Yes.
And I will come away from looking there.
I have to say, though, personally, I'm more engaged in the global path.
Yes, which is...
I can't help it.
That's the same.
It's always global for me.
Yeah.
Or interplanetary, you see, as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm not a natural psychic, see, people don't realise. I wasn't born knowing it as a child. I didn't grow up seeing spirit like a lot of people. I'm not a natural psychic. And I stress this to people because in case they think I am, and their expectations are higher than I can actually provide them.
So are you just a living example of what anyone can do?
Exactly. That's exactly why I can teach it. because I've learned it.
Yes. And
Whereas if I was a
anyone can do
natural,
it.
I couldn't teach it
No.
because it would be too natural to me.
Yeah.
So that is why I can teach, and I think that's the reason why I've come in late. I know how to teach. I know I'm a good teacher. I mean, that I'm not being big-headed.
No.
I know I get results.
Yes.
But I'm not about to do it. The dearly departed level, you know, Aunt Maud and Uncle Joe
Yes.
coming through.
That's not.
I'll
your
do it when there's a real need,
need.
but it's not my strength.
No, it's not my strength either.
And there's a lot of people out there can do that much better than me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, you know, go to them. Go
So
to
we
the
each have our
church.
own mission within the global
Yeah.
mission of raising the vibration of this planet, or raising the vibration of humanity to match where the planet's going. Within that, we each have individual.
We have our
missions.
field of expertise, and I think that's where it is.
And so, in your book, Spirit Speaks, does that have an aspect, a chapter, or something in it where it may help someone to find what their role in this is? Because one of the main questions I get asked with my clients is, what is my mission? I feel lost, I know I'm supposed to do something, but I don't know what it is.
Yes.
And it's never really for me to tell them what it is. You can guide them, but
how
it must
to
come.
create, you see. I best if I go to the index here, the contents, because there's so much. There we go. Genuine or fraud. How do you know somebody's genuine or fraud when you go to them? People want to know these
Yes, yeah, the
things.
discernment, absolutely.
I'll come back to this in a moment. I was on a cruise fairly recently, a year or two ago, and I was asked by the crew if I would do a talk. I wasn't booked to do a talk, but they knew what I did, and I'd done them readings, and even the captain's wife had a reading, you know. So I had this talk to do, which was videoed. Now, on a cruise, you've got a whole mixed bag of people, and you have to watch religions, you have to watch, you know, what you say, basically. You mustn't overstep. So I kept it sort of fairly basic, but a lot of it was here. How do you tell a genuine or a fraud if you go for a reading? And what's the difference between mediums, clairvoyance and things like that? So I kept it at that level and brought a lot of what I call basic understanding through in the talk, and I got a copy of the video which I can use, and personally I think it was excellent for people at the beginning. Right, it wasn't into ETs, we kept off ETs,
Yeah.
but do you see what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It was so worthwhile, that sort of thing, for people who are at the beginning. I am about bringing people into something.
Whatever
You
that
see,
is,
there's so much going on,
Yeah.
especially in Bournemouth.
Yeah.
People who are so clever at this, that and the other, doing the most marvellous things. But the beginners are left out
Yes.
quite often.
It's just making the shift.
It's making
Once
that
they've
one
shifted,
shift.
then they'll should
Yes.
continue to shift.
And I'm very
Yeah.
good at getting to shift. But I also run a workshop, which I've run 4 times now, because I had big take-up, each immediate. It's called Reaching for the Stars. Now my new book is called Reaching for the Stairs. Beyond the Stairs.
Beyond the stairs.
But Reaching for the Stars is about getting adjusted for this big shift that we're going into.
Which is
2012. Yeah, this period of time that we're all shifting into. The workshop was to help with that. So that was definitely for those who they already knew things. It was to take them that little bit higher. So you asked the question, can I go at all different levels? Yes, I can. Yes, I definitely can. I can, you never know how much to say and how much not to say. I speak a lot of ET's language. And I find, no matter where I am, if I am prompted to speak it, just involuntarily, the person I'm talking to will automatically speak back. Not always. That is shifting, because we do come from the stars. So it's awakening
Yes.
some of our soul's history.
Does
there.
that trigger DNA? Are there codes in the
Yeah,
in
the language triggers DNA, most definitely. Language triggers DNA.
Wow.
And it heals
Yes.
as well. So that is a pure pleasure when I do that. I love doing it. But you can't walk about doing it to everybody because it's too far.
Yes.
It's a step too far.
So you've got to stay in as grounded as possible
Yes.
while you shift.
Yes, while I'm bringing people on the loop. So yes, I can take them into the higher levels. I mean, often when I channel, I disappear. People say, "Oh, she's gone."
Oh, that's wonderful.
Bits of me have disappeared, but sometimes in bits, or they can see right through me or something. I am still there,
Yes.
but it just means I've gone into a higher vibration.
Gone much higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got recordings of people going, "Oh, did you see that? She's disappeared again." So I've got that all on tape, which is lovely.
So that to me...
It's good evidence, you see.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
That to me is kind of 7th, 8th density work.
I never even think about it. You see.
Do you not measure the vibrational shifts in a dimensional, like dimensional stairs, or not really?
No,
it's
because
natural.
when I enter, it's just natural. I'm just there. I don't
it's all
stop.
one.
I'm there. So it's like if you're dreaming, you don't stop in the middle of the dream and think, "Oh, well, where am I now?" Because you're already where you are. You are where your mind is.
Yes, I understand exactly what you're saying. The reason why I tend to try to measure it is as a teaching tool to others who are maybe more scientifically minded.
I am not scientific. I fall down on that.
Well, I'm not, but the 9 do tell me, and I'm sure you probably get some scientific concepts coming through, like about DNA.
Oh yes, there's a lot of
the
information about
planet.
DNA. I mean, DNA is what you can do with DNA. It can also be a bit scary if it's in the wrong hands. Really, I mean, they can actually manipulate your DNA.
Yeah. So
don't say they. I'm talking about governments now.
Yeah. So they do tell you about the darker aspects of this planet.
There's one chapter in there which clearly tells me that I have to. It's about the darker side. That they do exist and they are as powerful. Right? So they're not sort of saying, "Oh, you're in cloud 9 and that's where you'll stay."
Yeah.
You have to be. I've been taken into hell by spirit. I've been there.
And you do have to kind of go there, don't you, if you want
to help those who are in the hell. I've done soul rescue from the other side, which is, I wouldn't say scary because I've never been scared. I've always got the 2 angels there. They can't come down. You see, because those who are in hell, they're so dark in a way that they can't see any signs of light or the angels. They just don't know they exist, so they can't touch them. But somebody like me, who's an intermediary, I'm here and I'm there. I'm halfway. I'm like the exchange point.
Yes.
They can see me,
Yes.
and then I can take them over into a lighter place.
So are there humans here now who are in contact with beings who are from the darker place?
I don't know. I would say yes.
So
I don't know any personally.
No.
I don't know of any. But I mean, you've only got to look at what's going on in the world. There are, of course.
So what I'm getting at here is, say, planet Earth has several timelines for her trajectory.
Oh yes,
as a planet.
you missed my talk on timelines.
Okay.
I did a talk on timelines.
Well, what I was going to ask is, obviously I know that there are, every scenario possible plays out within that multiple timeline reality, all those infinite possibilities. But would you say right now, if you looked at Earth's trajectory, does the timeline look positive?
Positive, yeah. The good outweighs the bad.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So there are individuals on this planet who want a different timeline.
And there will be others who will go down the other timeline.
Individual.
There will. It's like one river. Right? We're all in the same river. The dark and the good, and then all the mixed in between. And it's going to come to a division point. Right? And that's where we're heading. 2012. That's what we're doing this year.
Yes.
And it's going to split. Those who simply cannot make this shift, and there will be, they'll go off on their timeline, and the others will go off on the other timeline. So it is down to each and every individual in the end. But the major, if you have too many who are dark, they will influence the light and pull them in. The big thing you mustn't do, try not to, is get dragged down by another person's negativity. because we're all compassionate. And if you're a light worker, you're compassionate. You can be compassionate without being dragged under. Because a lot of people, they get dragged under and they take their other person's problems home with them, and it pulls them down as well. Then they're already in, I would say, in danger of going on the wrong timeline. Because the very fact that they're pulled under makes them less light. And their DNA curls up. The DNA curls up when you're distressed, unhappy, ill, any of those negatives. The DNA curls and is not as functional.
And energy can't flow.
It can't flow. You're not as functional. You can't cope as well.
Right.
I mean, you've only got to listen to people who get colds. They can't cope for whatever reason. If you are happy, in spite of what's going on, because it's going on, but if you can maintain serenity, positive outlook, your DNA uncurls and it relaxes and it's much more effective. And you're in a better place. You see, it doesn't mean that you're heartless to people who are suffering.
No.
There's lots of them.
Yeah.
But don't be dragged under.
So you can be compassionate and loving and be aware of what's going on, but keep your
leave
own
their problems
raised.
with them. You do what you can while you're with them, and then drop it. Doctors, you know, in surgeries, day after day, people coming in with their moans and their troubles and their problems and all that. If they didn't detach at the end of the day, they'd probably commit suicide. They probably wouldn't cope. They have to detach. It doesn't make them less compassionate or less caring. We must be the same.
So when we watch the news and we're seeing awful things in front of us, we can be compassionate and know that it isn't what we want on this planet, and we want.
But don't get brought down by it.
Yeah, have the knowing that the light is always there.
Always.
It's always rooting
And this
for
is
us.
all for the good, actually.
Yeah.
I was told in the last channeling, they said that all these events that are going on, you know, the big uprisings everywhere, the Arab Spring and everything else, that's going to go on. That's going to increase, by the way.
Yes.
They must play out. So don't try to send healing to these places. They must play out because they're going to be the catalysts for a big change. Things have got to change.
Yes.
And they won't change if you mediate the effect.
Yes.
They won't change. So they have to play out. Leave them to play out. It's awful for the people there, yes. But there's goodness coming out of it as well. A lot of good
and they have
souls.
soul contracts with what's happening.
Absolutely,
anyway.
yeah. So don't get caught up in doom and disaster, basically. Even if bad things happen, your soul is infinite. It's going to go on, life after life, or existence after existence. Why get all, hot and bothered about this one?
Is it also true that it takes less, a minority group of people in the light, compared to a larger group of people in dark? That light can still hold
it,
the influence, because light has a
it's
higher...
stronger.
So that's what's influencing the positive timeline. Say there's 2 million people like you and I that are light workers and that are awake.
There are
many
more
watching
people
this video.
who are good than there are not.
So is this why we're in the positive timeline at the
We're in a
moment?
positive timeline. We're going to stay in a positive timeline.
And has critical mass point been reached when it comes to shifting us into that
Well,
positive
they
future?
say, I mean, I've got no proof, no scientific proof, obviously, that the, how did they put it? The mass that is for the positive timeline is greater than the dark side. Yes. They do exist, the dark side do exist, and they will continue. But they are on their journey, at their level, and they will eventually, through all their successive lives, eventually reach the point that the others are at. You know, they're still souls.
Yeah.
You can't destroy a soul.
This shifting between, as you explained it, like, this moving away, so you've got the sort
That's
of
how I
dark
see it,
here
yeah.
and light here. Is that becoming more pronounced the more we go into 2012?
Yes, it's going to go on beyond 2012.
And beyond.
I think, I don't know for sure, there's a bit of variation on the theme here. 2018 I'd say it was going to go on for, and beyond. And there's some already doing the shift. It's not everybody all at once.
No,
that's
right.
There's people already doing the shift.
Yes.
There were people who are dying are often dying now early so that they can jump on the bandwagon, they'll have earned it, and be reincarnated into
the next
one.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
without going through all the trauma.
So right now, death is on that level. When they're lighter people, that's actually a positive journey.
It's a very positive journey, yeah. We're getting very excited up there, you know.
And are some individuals shifting into fifth density? Did this kind of start around about the month just gone, March, and is this continuing in April? March and April, was there like a shift?
There are pulses of shifts, and it's directly connected with the solar cycle 24 and the galactic alignment.
Is that the 21st of December?
Yes.
So these are shifts that are
These are pulses.
Yes.
The planets and the alignments and wherever they are and what happens to the sun are sending pulses of energy to the solar system, not just the planet Earth. And this is activating things in our bodies, because we're part of it all. So we are being, piece by piece sounds good, doesn't it? But you know, bit by bit, if you like, being re-energized into a different state.
So it's not something that's going to 1 minute you're human and the next minute with the click of your fingers.
No, a lot of people won't even know they've moved.
Yeah, it's a gradual shift. But those that are sensitive can feel the shift.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting because dream states are going to be so important, and I'm getting so many more of them now. Take notice of dreams. If you're in a really lucid dream and you're there, you're living it, all right, that's where you are. You're not thinking about your bed or anything as you're in that dream. The shift is going to be very similar. Well, people will stay in the dream, and as far as they're concerned, it's always been like that. They won't remember this bit. As far as they're concerned, life has always been like this. What's the difference? So a lot of people around are going to say, well, nothing's changed, nothing's happened. But it has, but they don't know it. I mean, do we remember the second dimension? No. But it had to have been there at some point. It's completely gone.
So is that ascension process, that shifting that we feel while we're awake and conscious, that's happening in parallel within the dream time as well?
Yeah.
And is it stronger in the dream time?
It's all down to each individual. You know, it really is an individual thing. This is an individual journey en masse. I know that sounds crazy.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But, you know, each soul has to be born individually.
We're all going through an individual experience at the same time.
At the same time,
but they're completely different and unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing is absolutely identical. So,
no.
you know, you'll get people who don't believe in an afterlife. It won't make any difference. No. It's how they are as a human being.
So it doesn't matter what religion they are, what walk of life they are, what job they do. It's all to do with their level of light.
You see, it's both scientific as well as spiritual.
Yes. Yeah.
Because on a physics level, we are all being changed.
Yes. At the cellular level.
At the cellular level. I've got to try tonight, this talk, I've got to try and bring in what is... I'll tell you about that afterwards.
Is it a carbon-based structure that's shifting to a crystalline-based structure at the cellular level?
Yeah, it's a gradual shift.
A gradual shift, yeah.
It's not an overnight suddenly whoops out with the old in with the new. It can't be like that. No. It's like evolution.
Yes, evolution.
Spiritual evolution.
Yes.
Right. And new evolution doesn't usually happen overnight.
No.
It is a slower process. This is been going on. You say, you know, was it April or March? It's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look back through Being Human book and my channeling in 1992 is when I started actually, there were predictions about this now.
Yes, I know.
And I didn't know, obviously I didn't know, nobody knew. They were talking about how, and there's one and it's in the book, I've left it there and I've got it on tape as well, and it was from Ossie Shu. And he said there will not be one atom, not one molecule that will remain the same on the planet Earth. Anywhere, or the whole thing is going to be changed. And I thought at the time, because they were talking about the ozone layer, I thought it was about mutation and the ozone layer. I didn't know about 2012 or DNA shifts or anything like that, but that's what he was talking about. Yeah. They knew that way back.
Yes, yeah. Do you think sometimes when you're a channel, you get channeled material and you bring it forward and you kind of understand it, but it might be several months or even years later before you fully process what it means?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you know Robin Lown, he's a palmist anyway. He's the one that got me started on palm reading. After Spirit have said, we want you to learn the hands. They told me clearly, we want you to learn the hands and use that as a base, which is what I do. Every reading, I read the hands first. And the same week, Spirit got it all sorted. Positive Living had this guy come down to do a talk on palmistry. Boy, was I hooked. And so from then on, I've studied palms and I've learned how to do palms. I saw him last week and he said, Shirley, he said, your problem is, just tend to pick up the problems. He said, but the information you've got is 100 years. You're 100 years ahead of your time. People don't understand. I'm thinking, well, I can only do what I can do, you know.
But there are some now that are
beginning to understand.
Yeah. And that's increasing, isn't it?
Yeah, because I haven't put it in the Being Humanable. Yes, I have some little bits in the predictions section about what life's going to be like on this planet in the future. You know, not what's happening now. What's going to cause it, but afterwards. Which is quite exciting.
Is that a lovely future?
It's different for different people.
Okay.
Depending where you live on the planet.
Yeah.
Because all these changes, the scientific changes that are happening, that the actual practical can't change it changes to do with the sun and the solar cycle and the earthquakes and volcanoes and stuff. It's not going to be even across the planet. Some parts of the planet are going to get affected more than others.
Yeah, I've had the same.
You see? Yeah. So there will be parts of the planet that are, I won't say unscathed, but they'll be affected, but not to the same degree.
But do you also get, don't worry, there's a lot of people say, well, where are the safe zones? Don't worry about that, because if you're in alignment with that source,
it doesn't matter.
You will automatically, the safe zone is all within your own
Absolutely,
raising.
It doesn't matter. Be serene.
Yes.
And know that nothing can hurt you, because your soul will continue no matter what happens to you in any other way. You know, and you're going to go from A to B, from birth to death, whatever period of time you're in. It doesn't matter.
This future that you see that's way beyond sort of 2012, and you say that it's sort of different all around the world.
Depending, and it isn't set in stone either.
And it's not set in stone, we have to create it.
We have to create it, not only that, at the time that was given, remember things are always changing, and this was given in the early 90s.
And things change every
And things are changing all the time.
Yeah.
What I've put in there may not be true now.
Yes.
Do you see?
I get that it more than likely is.
Yes.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Again, we're coming back to timelines.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
You see, so it depends which timeline are they talking about.
Yes.
Are they talking about picking up the pieces timeline?
Yeah.
Because the people who've done all the damage on this
that's
earth will be picking up the pieces.
I was going to ask you, in that future, is that, you know, this timeline of control structure, and obviously, you know, we can see a timeline where there's martial law and there's a new world order, which is extremely unlikely. I mean, I'm told we're almost, the probability of not going down there is almost 100%, but little bits might bleed through, or what's needed in order to transition us. In that future aspect, has that control structure eventually gone? You know, I mean, are we able to be creative
as I
and free?
see it, and I can be wrong, but as I see it, those who would do the controlling, who you know, are still in power now, who've done all the awful things and probably will carry on for a while, they'll be caught up in the geographical changes, whatever earth changes the planet has in store for us. Some of them will die, a lot of them will die, some will be reincarnated back into the destruction that they've caused. That's going down the other timeline. And those who don't die will still have to pick up the pieces. I mean, if there's no electricity, if there's, you know, mudslides here or whatever,
whatever it may
they'll be there and they'll have to sort it out. All right, they can't escape the consequences of their actions.
Absolutely.
That much is absolutely
Oh, I agree. Completely.
clear. So they are not going to go into the positive timeline because they haven't earned it.
No, I get the
So
same
they
information.
will be existing still, picking up the pieces and learning from their mistakes.
Something very, very topical at this precise moment is the talk of imminent individuals within that dark structure being brought to justice.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
I do see that. I haven't been told it by spirit, but I do see that, as a thinking human being.
Yeah, I haven't
This
been
is
told
what it's,
it either, but I
haven't
see
been
the
told it by
energies
spirit.
it can't really be any other way now
No.
because of the polarity.
Yeah. Nobody, you see, when I channel, I rely on people asking me the questions while I'm in connection.
Question triggered,
Yes.
as am I.
And if they ask that question, they will be given an answer. But nobody has.
No.
I'm thinking of having another channeling session at some time with people who are more like you and I.
Well, because I channel myself,
You know.
I kind of work out where the questions, and I look at my audience, if you like, the people who listen to my YouTube videos, because I know I'm used to that energy,
What
and I know what
mindset
they
they're
want,
on. Yeah.
and I know what is a global question as well as an answer.
Yes.
So, interviewing is
See,
great
a
fun.
lot of people, a lot of the population, all they want to know is, what about my kids? Will we still have a car to drive?
Yeah.
And, the basic fundamental stuff, which is natural, but
that's not.
it's no good talking to them because not on the level that we're talking about, about the governments.
I know. Because they haven't got to that.
They haven't got to that
yet.
way of thinking yet.
But there are a lot of people who are aware of the government structure. What I would say is, be aware of it, but don't get too caught up in that either, because you could shift yourself into that timeline.
Don't get caught up. There's
unless it's your job. Some people are reporting this.
Yes.
It's like you and I. We're over on the light, and I was told only yesterday when I saw petrol strike and goodness knows what, and I thought, well, should I rearrange my week in order? And they said it's very important that you continue down the road that you see in front of you, and it's not over there with the cabal or
no,
this. You can
no.
learn about that, but
you just add to that energy.
Exactly.
If you go that thinking, it's not sticking your head in the sand. It's adding your energies to that energy.
Be aware of it.
Be aware of it, because you
Absolutely,
have to.
you have to be. But there must be those in the light that are talking about the light and delivering the light to catch those who are passing over from these darker realities of fear into the love. We need to be there to catch them.
To catch them, yeah.
So you're in the same.
I'm very much on the good will always survive, will always surmount the dark, always. We're talking about the God force here. We're talking about the source.
Yeah.
The source will always make sure that it survives.
So are we on track then for the plan, as it were?
I think we're on track. I think it mustn't change. I don't. If people start changing it now, out of fear or whatever, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Let's people be thinking positive, and it isn't putting your head in the sand.
No, it's not.
Just be the best you can be all the time, and that's really all you have to do. And you see, if when I was 12, I mean, I went through a hell of a time when I was 12, but if when I was 12 I knew what my future was going to be,
you would have run away from it.
I'd have probably committed suicide, because I was in that frame of mind anyway. That would have tipped me over. Thank God I didn't know.
Yes, I agree.
Because when things happen, you deal with them.
Yes.
Whatever, however good or however bad, you deal with whatever is presented to you.
You cannot tell people things. That's why the guidance can't tell us too far in advance.
No, they won't, because then our minds would race ahead and be planning and changing things, and change the whole thing.
Yes.
Change the blueprint.
And do you feel when you come to deliver channeled messages that sometimes you get messages that you can't take global?
Yes, I do. And either it's usually too political. I do stuff. Because I mind walk, Spirit give me, because I am physical, I feel physical whenever I go anywhere. And maybe I am physical wherever I go, I don't know that. I just feel it.
Totally wonderful. I really want some of this.
But they take, but spirit know what they're doing, you see, because they have jobs for me to do. And they take me to places that I can't talk about on tape, where they give me things to do, which I could only do if I was physical. And I do it, and they say, you're making space safe. Because I ask them, what am I doing this for? Because I haven't got a clue. I just know where I am, and I know where I shouldn't be, in relation to what we were talking earlier, and they give me things to do. So I'm working on lots of different levels
at the same time.
Yeah.
Are many light workers doing that?
There must be. I'm certainly not a lone worker. I mean, that would be really egotistical to think that I was the only one.
No, I know there are others, but what I would say is, if people have been getting like feelings like that they need to go to a certain place or take a crystal with them,
it's a thread.
They are to do this. That's part of the grander
telepathically
web.
They've been told. Yeah.
And so follow it. Would you say?
Always follow it. Yeah. It might not always pan out, but it doesn't matter. You've followed, and I think once they find that you follow the threads that they give you, I think of them as little threads of information, little pulses of, must do this sort of thing, or must go there. If they find that you follow what they suggest, then they'll give you more work to do, because they can trust you, you see.
I'm also picking up from my audience, sort of shifting ahead of time when this is actually broadcast and edited and out on YouTube, there's quite a large percentage of viewers that are looking at the mind walking when you got into the ships. So that's great, but what I would say to them, and I don't know if you resonate with this, don't concentrate too much on I want to mind walk to get into the ships, because that's a byproduct, isn't it, of the whole spiritual
I don't start
path.
out by saying that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
I say take me where you need me to be.
And that's part of it.
Yeah, I leave it up to them. And because I totally and absolutely trust, that's part of it too.
So anyone raising their vibration, consciously taking a spiritual ascension path, moving up through these dimensions to match the earth, they will automatically learn all these things.
Yeah. If they trust their guidance, whether you call them guides, angels, or whatever name you give them, and it feels right each time, go along with whatever is suggested or where they take you in your journeys, because it will always be right, even if you don't understand it at the time. It will always be the right one, but it starts with the trust. You see, you have to really believe that this is for your good.
So how do people get that if they haven't got it now but they want it and they feel that it's just not coming? Where do they start? Is meditation?
The method I teach is the only way I know. I'm sure there must be other ways. But I am able to teach people how to go on journeys in 2 minutes. I even did one 30 seconds the other day for somebody, and they couldn't believe it was only 30 seconds. I said time is irrelevant, when you're on these journeys.
So is this like a cross between meditation and hypnosis?
Very similar. It's very, very similar to self-hypnosis. In fact, I did a self-hypnosis workshop the other week. I use the same technique as hypnosis, as self-hypnosis. That's why I call it the stairs, because I use the stairs method.
So that's all in the book that's coming out?
That's in the book that's coming out. I actually put that whole technique down in the book. Because it worked for me, and I didn't know how to do it beforehand. I'd never meditated before. But it worked, and if it works, use it.
And everyone in your workshop, have they had good results?
Oh, they can all go off on journeys, yeah. Some are ahead of me, they don't wait, because the regular group that I have, they've learned how to do it. They don't need to learn any more from me. They can do it. They go off and run their own circles now, you see, which I like, because it means it's spreading it.
Another question, the children, the young ones, up till sort of early 20s, are they very sort of high vibratory beings if they come here?
I don't have children coming to workshops.
No.
If they are, as I call the special children, they'll get there anyway. Yeah. They don't need me, actually, at all.
Are these rainbow children, indigo children?
These are just names we've given them because people see them in their aura. Yeah. They see their colour in their aura. That's why they've got the names. But if you're not one that sees people with colour, then it's not going to,
Yeah.
it's just a name, another name. I have met some children, often I'm presented to them in one way or the other, and you could tell these are special kids. Oh, absolutely, there's no question. And if they've sent these special souls, because they're not souls, not kids are souls, they're evolved souls. If they've sent or decided to come down here to give a hand, we don't need to worry about how they're going to cope. They'll cope better than we. Why should we worry? They'll deal with whatever comes their way. And they will. They won't be destroyed.
No.
Otherwise they wouldn't be here.
No.
They've got faith.
So say to mothers, parents, don't worry about your
children.
children.
Don't stress so much.
The children will be fine.
They'll be fine. Yeah. I mean, there's one young lad who's been here actually, who's quite an entertainment in his way. When he wandered around and talked and we chatted, and he said, well, it's time to go. That was it. I'm off. Just like that. But he says he's bored at school because he knows what his teachers are thinking, and he said they're not teaching it right. And he knows what they're going to say before they say it. Yeah. He's way ahead, But they'll find his level. They'll do. They all will. So I'm not worried about them. They've been coming. They're not kids anymore. They've been coming for. I remember I was in France. I'm going back to the 80s, about 84, and it was in France. And there was a whole group of kids, and I saw one kid, and I thought, he's one of those special kids. You could tell, and this is way back in time. They've been coming for a long time, They've been coming in waves. But there's quite a bit in the Being Human book about how I went on the other side to meet these kids, kids who were waiting to be born. Quite interesting. It's an interesting conversation we had with them. Yeah.
I saw my grandson before he was born.
Yeah, I saw mine before. Yeah.
Well, I saw him before my daughter was even pregnant. So I told her she was going to get pregnant and have this little boy.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
He's 3 months old now. So yeah, it's a great experience, and to be able to go prior to the birth and after the leaving and see it as a
trust
whole
in the
progression.
children that are coming, and a lot of these children that are starving in Africa and and all these places. You might say they are blessed. I know it sounds awful because obviously they don't feel blessed and the parents don't feel blessed. Can we say how can I put it in easy language? They're getting brownie points on a soul level.
Yes, I know. They're taking on huge karma for humanity.
Yeah, they're getting a huge upliftment in soul quality as a result of what they're suffering.
Is that true for the animals as well? The ones that
the
are
animals,
suffering?
Yeah, well, it's always been true for the animals, I think, yeah.
Do you see that system changing, the way that we farm our animals?
Yeah.
Do you see that becoming more eco, more green, more fair?
Yeah. There's going to be, as I understand it from Spirit, quite a lot of species disappear, but they will be replaced by others. So there'll always be animals. But the species that we know which strive so hard to keep the lions and the tigers and what have you, they're going to go. But there'll be new ones, you see. There's a huge change going on.
On every level.
Yeah, we don't want to see it, but there's a complete changeover happening here. Yeah.
So we'll be more
I dare say we'll still have crocodiles. They've been here since the beginning of time, haven't they, practically?
Do you think we'll be more in harmony with the earth?
We ought to be.
In that positive future.
If we're on that positive timeline, we still have challenges.
Still have challenges.
Because that's what growth's all about. It mustn't take the challenges away. That would be awful. We'd get bored very quickly. Yeah,
the challenges are coming
so
that we grow. But we'll see them in a different way.
We'll look at them differently, we'll deal with them differently.
What about the economy from now? Do you see that completely collapsing?
It's a hot potato, isn't it?
Or collapsing in parts and reshifting, changing, going to a more fair
I
system?
think, and again I can be wrong, we're probably going to have the equivalent of the big depressions, and
this year?
Oh, I don't really know. It wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't like to put a prediction on finance. I'm not that, I just know that there'll be a shift.
There'll be a shift and a
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. You see, what they show it to me in pictures, and that's in the book as well. They show this big tower, man's construction, and they said those who have put themselves in high places will have the furthest to fall. You know, and it's the way they symbolically. It was very much Nostradamus way of giving a prediction.
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah.
Lots of rubble, and then these little green shoots
Oh,
growing
yes.
out of the rubble.
Yeah.
So I know that if there's a collapse, or whether that's metaphorical or literal, there's all the new growth.
They showed me the planet once, encased in concrete, because we are concreting so much of it. Anyway, the planet, completely encased in concrete, and I was watching it, and then it started to crack, and all the greenery started to come out and cover, and it covered it once again. You won't destroy the Earth.
No, no.
The only thing that could destroy the Earth is nuclear.
And do you think that...
And that is a worry, certainly on the extraterrestrial side.
Do you think they could prevent that? I know
they are already doing
yeah,
that.
That's right.
Yeah, they're already doing that.
Yeah.
But you know, they only stepped in because they could see we were not going to do it ourselves.
So is that why they sent in the starseeds or the light workers, us? We come here for that reason.
We come in, yeah. The way they step in is to bring people like us down.
Human, because they can't do it.
They can't do it. We're not authorised otherwise.
Yeah. So then we have the free will.
Yes. I think there's a lot of good change going to happen, but it's going to be a bit traumatic for a lot of people.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think if you've got a lot of money, you're probably going to feel lots more. Sounds awful, doesn't it?
Yeah,
we
no,
always like more money. I mean, I wouldn't say no to a win.
I do feel that people who've built their businesses in integrity and on fairness with the planet as a whole goal rather than their own sort of reaping rewards, that they'll sustain through this energy.
Yeah, you see, yes, because they'll have other values, and everybody will be in the same boat.
Yeah. So there's a support network there.
And what was it somebody said, and it didn't come from me, a rising tide raises all boats.
A rising tide
raises all boats. All in it together.
But people have built businesses on greed, on service to self, on that sort of energy.
Well, you see, because that's their focus, it will hurt them so much more. Because obviously, the bit that you hold most dear is what's going to hurt you if it disappears. Whereas others who've been without, they can cope because they've been without already. They know what it's like, and they can deal with it because they know how to deal with it. If I had to say what country to go to, you know, talking about where's the best place to be, I would say South America.
Yeah.
The southern Americas, rather than the northern parts of the world. Not that the northern parts are going to, you know, it's not doom and disaster, but I would say I have only because of what I was told that the Brazil in particular is going to be the new spiritual centre of the world. So, and I could see it when I went to Brazil. I could see that. Yes, all right, they have violence and stuff in Rio, in the towns, but you go into the villages. They're very, very spiritual, very nice, very kind people.
And is that beyond this year, beyond 2012?
I don't know. They didn't give me a time.
So on the 21st of December 2012, is it a good idea or no? I'm being told to follow your alignment. I was going to say, is it a good idea for people to get together and celebrate and have parties and have meditations so that they create a higher energy? But what I was instantly told is, if someone's within the alignment and in that flow and is connected, they'll know where to go.
They will.
And we can't be told now.
No, it's too far ahead.
Yeah,
it really is too far ahead.
Question.
I mean, I'm already booked up for Australia next year. Right. So obviously I'm thinking, you know, I'm still going to be getting on planes.
Absolutely.
Because I'm actually booked in to give
there's
talks.
No doubt that the world will carry on. I've released so many videos about 21st of December 2012, and people often write, oh, I don't know why I'm listening to this, we'll still be here on the 22nd of December, and I'm thinking, not once anywhere have my guides channeling ever said that we're not.
No, it's going to carry on. It's just a different, we're phasing into a different state. New race of man is how it was given to me.
Absolutely.
We're leaving the Adamic period. Did you know Adam was of the violet race?
No, but that makes sense because I was told the violet race was one of the first
Yeah.
men. Is it the case that there are many different groups that
Yeah.
are overseeing this
Absolutely.
process right now?
Absolutely. You wouldn't believe how many.
And lots of people are in contact with them telepathically.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And are all out to deliver their messages
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get them global.
We're in a very good place.
Yeah.
We really are in a very good place. I think we'd be overjoyed if we could see what a good place.
I agree.
But you see, if we were to see how much is there around us, we might just sit back and say,
Yeah.
well, let them get on
and
with
that's
it then.
we've got to carry on
We've
working.
got to do it.
Yeah,
We've got
I
to,
agree. I've got
for
the
our
same.
own soul's development.
We must carry on.
Yes.
Don't think, oh, well, we're in that timeline now. Let's all relax. It's still
No, we've
to
got
do.
to work because nothing's ever set.
No. So where can people get hold of you? We're going to put your website into the finished data.
Yes.
Is that the best way to people contact you? If they want?
Website is good, yes. I've got email, of course. The emails are in the books.
And you're on Facebook?
And I'm on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. You know, I don't want to spend all my life in front of a computer, which you can do.
Yes, I do.
So YouTube, of course.
Yeah.
My website, which is www.little-owl.org, so it's dead easy, and that should take people. Could you reach that bookmark for me,
This
please?
one?
Yeah, because I want to put this on here. She should get her glasses as well, sorry. Yes, so, and email you should be able to find off my website as well because there's contact there. So that should be easy. Now, the reason I brought this bookmark out is because I was channeling and my extraterrestrial guide came through. And at the end of it, he gave me this little verse. And it was so beautiful, I thought, I can't wait till I've got a book out to put this in. Or, what am I going to do with this? And this was before Facebook. Can you imagine a life before Facebook? Anyway, so I read it, and if we are sort of winding up, I like to read this at the end.
Yes, please do.
May you always hold kindness in your soul, compassion in your heart, gentleness in your actions, truth in your words, and wisdom in your thoughts, so that you may be effective and as a shining light wherever you tread. May the effect of your touch be comforting and a healing to those who have a need. May you hold goodness of all life in your being. Then your journey through life will have been worthwhile. And that was from an extraterrestrial.
That's lovely.
It's beautiful, isn't
It's
it?
beautiful.
And it's so moving when he said it,
And the energy.
I thought, how can you feel bad about extraterrestrials when you get that sort of message?
I know.
So I've had them printed up as bookmarks.
Yes, that's the final message then, that ETs are, there are all kinds, and there
Of
are
course.
the ones that, if you want to contact those of love and light, that are here with such unbelievable, unconditional love for us.
It is unconditional, absolutely.
And many of them are us in the future, aren't they, in various timelines?
Or we may have been them, or maybe,
Oh.
and there's quite a few on Earth now as human beings.
Who are them?
Who are
Yeah.
extraterrestrials.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've come in.
Yeah,
from
and you can recognise them. I
Yeah.
can recognise them a few
Yeah.
times now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? We could carry on talking all day.
I know.
I mean, perhaps we should do another interview.
Well,
because
whenever you see how-
you're a minefield of knowledge and information, and it's not just what you've accumulated in your grid that you're aware of. There's all the new that's yet to come.
Oh, yeah,
So
it's
just a
exciting.
constant flow. I once said to the 9 when I started doing the videos, I said to them, what if, I run out of things to say? What if you run out of things to say? And they laughed and they said, when you're in that creative flow, it's infinite.
Yeah.
It's literally infinite.
Yeah.
You do not run out of messages or creativity when it's from that place. It's just an infinite flow. There's always something new.
What I have
to say.
found since I've started doing this work, right from the word go really, I genuinely love everybody. I know it sounds trite really to say it. I don't have to like them all,
No, I know.
but I genuinely do love them. There's something there which moves me, you know.
Yeah. With me, it started off as a concept of unconditional love. We must have unconditional love for all, and it was a concept. And then it actually started to come into the heart, and I thought, it's real now.
Yes.
I really do love.
When you really do love, and it isn't something you must do. It's something you can't help but do.
No.
And it's very, very moving, I
and
find.
that keys you into the energy.
Yes, it's very
love
moving.
is
the thing. That's all that matters, actually.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. That's the
whole thing.
Whole thing is love.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Including sex, if we can.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll keep that going. We can do. Thank you, Shirley, so
you're
much.
more than welcome. Oh.
It's been lovely.
Yeah.
Thank
It's
you.
lovely. Is she nice?
We must do this again.